everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Masterclass series. This is Mike Lambert. I'm the founder and CEO of SuiteDash. Thank you everyone for being here. Why don't we jump into the chat really quick and let's find out. It's a massive turnout, so let's find out where everyone's joining us from. Hi Michael. We only have 60 minutes for this session, so we're going to get off to a quick start. Let's see. Hawaii, Montana, Raleigh, close by to me, East Texas, Toronto, New York, LA, Barcelona, yeah, Forza Barca, Australia, Delaware, Australia, all over, Perth, India, hi from India, Vancouver, South Africa. Very, very good. Good to see everyone here. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so today's session, let's get right to it, is going to be focused on the CPA, accountant, bookkeeping niche. A proven path, your last tax season without automation, right? That one is tempting, I know. Our special guest today is Mr. Mark Stovall. We originally met Mark a year or two back when he actually, of all things, sent in a testimonial video where he talked about how he was running his cloud accounting business using SuiteDash and how it had been helping him run and automate his business. And just really impressed by Mark. And since that time, we've connected several times. And I learned recently, a few months ago, about the successful sale of his business. And we had a good conversation outlining all the reasons why that happened. And one of the main reasons that was that his systems and automations were quite impressive. And from using SuiteDash, he was able to build and form his business. But I'm not going to talk too much about that. I don't want to introduce Mark in a way that I think he can do it much better. So welcome, Mark. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today. I appreciate your time. Why don't we just go ahead and, Mark, and just pass to you. I'm going to help run the slides, and we're just going to try to walk through this a step at a time. But we're mostly here to hear your story and hear what you have to present for us today. So I'll let you take over.
Thanks again. Well, welcome everyone. It's incredible to see how many places on the globe are at today. That's exciting. So I guess as a quick introduction, I discovered SuiteDash a couple of years ago, and it was pretty foundational in building my firm and the automations that I had. And so today I want to talk about that journey of discovering that I needed to change the way that I ran my firm, some hard truths that I came up against, and what I did to get started in that automation world, and then some tools and tactics that anyone on this call can start using right away. So we'll start at the very beginning. I graduated from college in 2010 and started articling with one of the big four firms, Ernst & Young. I worked in the audit group for about 3 years and then moved over to the transaction support group and did due diligence for large international acquisitions and mergers. I was designated a CPA in 2013. And then at that point, I decided that I was going to leave and branch out. And in 2014, I became the financial controller of a manufacturing company and ran a remote accounting department for this company. And then shortly after I was in oil and gas. The price of oil dipped a little bit. There were some layoffs. The production manager left, and I put up my hand to be able to run a production company or the production department as well. And so we got into automation. We got into linking technologies together to make it work. And then after 3 years of working there, we moved across the country. My partner and 2 daughters at the time. There's a third now in the mix. And I launched my own virtual accounting firm. I'd been doing kind of taxes and basic bookkeeping evenings and weekends for a couple of years before that move. So I had a handful of clients that I brought with me to the other side of the country. But by no means did I have an established firm when I started. And so the journey began at that point. So 2017 in the fall, relocated near my in-laws, and I started to climb to build this firm into what it was at the point when I sold it. So there was a struggle initially to figure out what I was doing, and so this picture that we have up on the screen, this is something that Mike shared in his webinar series last month about there's certain phases of automating your business, and in this case, your CPA or bookkeeping firm. And the first step is the struggle, is just basic survival, and that's literally what I was doing. Had moved across the country, had no local network, had a handful of clients from uh, 2,000 miles away. It was pretty it was a struggle. Living off a credit card for part of the time, and I really had to like buckle down and figure out what I was doing. I was in a very reactionary mindset. There wasn't a whole lot of planning going on. I was just kind of focusing on generating revenue, making sure that the bills were paid, that my family had money, and so it was kind of head down, just grinding it out. I use a lot of the off-the-shelf, popular accounting apps. I was into QBO, Xero, HubDoc, Dext. At the time, it was Receipt Bank, and I was learning all these systems and trying to like figure out how to be faster, charge more, and basically grow and scale my firm. And so at that point, I started to make some strides. It was no longer a struggle, but I realized that I wasn't organized. I couldn't connect all these apps together. They were great apps. I was drinking from the proverbial Kool-Aid of these accounting apps. I was all over the automations within them, but there were no kind of connectors at the time. In 2017, we talked a lot about no-code automation, and 4.5 years ago, there wasn't as much no-code automation as there is today. And so this is, right now is a fantastic time to get into no-code automation. But at the time, I had no-code automation going on at all. I was working in a WordPress website, linking a bunch of plugins together to have these workflows work. Anyway, so I was slowly organizing and systematizing everything that I was doing. And it came together, and there was more struggle. I was heading into my second, third year. And then I was able to finally figure out some workflows and create systems that were scalable. I brought on team members that I could train and get them into the flow faster than a typical bookkeeper. My staff was remote. There was a lot of training for sure and getting them up to speed, but the system kind of held them and helped them move along in the training process. So after scaling and building out systems for another year or so, middle of last year, 2021, I worked with an advisor to list my firm to sell it. So that was about May or June. It was listed. I received through the advisor about 50 profiles of buyers that wanted to purchase the firm, and they were all over the continent, East, West Coast, down in Texas. They were everywhere, and I spoke to about 25 of them, and they were at various points in their cloud firm journey, but they were all very interested in how I did things, because I got this sense that everybody kind of had systems or using, QBO and Xero, but those connectors that glue kind of make it all work together, they weren't there. And so after speaking to about 25 of them, I shortlisted to about 4 and decided to move forward with them. But before I share the ending of the story, I built the firm with a few things in mind. So it was 100% online from the very beginning. I never had an office. And so what I focused on was mobile first. And mobile first is a web development idea initially that you have to build everything to work on a mobile phone. And that's what I kind of had in mind. Everything that I did had to be accessible from a mobile phone, from the portal to signing documents, to uploading documents, to uploading receipts. And a lot of those apps that I was using did that. And so I was building around that idea that I had to be mobile. Second was that I did not want to enter any data. It had to be a data flow, not a data entry scenario. And that way you could manipulate the data easily and get it to flow from one app to another, manipulate it, do the work that we have to do as bookkeepers and accountants, and then present it as insights and reports to our clients. And then finally, actual real-time insights. I had this desire from the very beginning to be more than just a tax preparer or be more than just an accountant. I wanted to be a partner with my clients. I wanted to share, excuse me, I wanted to share in their successes. I wanted to share in their frustrations and overcoming things. So that required that I needed to provide some real insights for them. And instead of just providing them a financial report at the end of the month, which actually was about 2 or 3 weeks after the end of the month, and then spend a bunch of time explaining the financial report to them, I felt like dashboards and bite-sized tidbits of real-time information was very important to get to communicate clearly to the clients. So that was kind of my driving pillars of my firm. And so as we go through the next part of the slides, these things were underpinning everything that I did. So let's face the truth here a little bit. So all companies are tech companies. Now, I'm not saying that every company is an innovating tech company like SuiteDash or some of the big players, but every company uses some sort of technology to execute on their delivery of products or services. That's just plain and simple. COVID has really expedited that. So there's more people. There's more businesses online than ever before, using more technology than ever before. Secondly, clients have different goals. Clients are looking, there's a next generation of entrepreneurs coming up. Clients are way more connected to their businesses. There isn't a clear delineation between, okay, when I run my business and when I kind of live my life, they're interwoven. So there is this connection that is growing. Business owners are getting more tech savvy, and the proliferation of information on YouTube and online just enable these business owners to make informed decisions about their technology. Online businesses are the fastest growing business classification. So those are online businesses, and those businesses demand flexibility, meaning these business owners, they're not opting to get an office. They're working from home. They're working from a beach in Mexico. They're working overseas. They had this laptop lifestyle that is really fueling their desire to succeed in business. And this is impacting how accounting and bookkeeping is being done, because we can no longer demand that our clients bring in their papers every month. We need to adjust to how business owners are running their business to stay relevant and to stay up to date. And then finally, value-adding services are changing. So with the introduction of AI and other bots, bookkeeping is becoming very commoditized. Robots are doing a lot of the work. And so we need to somehow branch out and understand how we can bring more value to our clients outside of just simply bookkeeping, accounting, and tax preparation. Those things are getting, like I mentioned, commoditized, and we need to be able to offer different things to our clients. And those things kind of lay on a spectrum. You can either focus on providing more financial guidance and strategic support, or offer them a way to partner with them and build out their financial management systems. So in both scenarios, technology becomes very important. So you can create, firstly, up-to-date financial insight or financial systems that help them run their business efficiently and more profitably. So another big indicator for me in terms of the change of pace in the business world is Shopify. So this graph shows the Shopify revenues for the last 3 years. So 2019, I think they were about $1.6 billion. And then the jump from 2019 to 2020 was almost an 86% jump, primarily due to COVID. And then from 2020 to 2021, there was another jump of almost 60%. And they're generating revenues of $4.6 billion. Now, Shopify is not the be-all, end-all indication of tech adoption in businesses, but it's a very clear marker for where things are going. Meaning, this is a tool. This is an integrated tool in a lot of businesses for selling, and not only selling products, but selling services as well. And so, excuse me. And so, when you look to see what kind of technology your clients are using, Shopify and other tools are up there. Now, here's a quick quote from Tim O'Reilly. Tim O'Reilly is a pioneer in the online space. He coined terms like open source and Web 2.0. And he's saying here, what new technology does is create new opportunities to do a job that customers want done. Meaning we can look at this change, and I don't think any of us are surprised by what I'm sharing today, but this can become a real opportunity for CPAs, accountants, and bookkeepers to offer real value and get entrenched in a real significant way with their client base. So getting started with this, so if you run a paper office opposed to a paperless office, you might be wondering, okay, where do I start? And even if you're in the cloud to a certain degree, there's things to kind of consider and kind of look at as you move along in your journey. So there's cloud apps out there. I call them off the shelf. There's not a lot that you have to do with them for them to work. We're talking about the QBOs, Zeros, the Bill.com, WagePoint, all these tools that you can sign up with immediately and start using. And they're very user friendly. You can send links over to your clients so they can download apps, they can upload receipts directly from their phone, things like that. And those are great, and that's a really good starting point. And then you got to move down to the integrations and the connectives. Meaning, how do we connect these apps together? So we know that Dex works with QBO or HubDoc works with Zero. So beyond that, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about how else can that information flow into, let's say, a dashboard for a client, or how do we get the proposals that we send to new clients to flow into our accounting apps? How do we get these things to work together? So instead of having these siloed operations in our business, we have a network, we have an ecosystem of apps that work together. And then we don't stop there. That's only kind of half the battle. Then we start to smooth out our client experience. So we want to be able to impress our clients right from the get-go, from the first marketing touch point. We want them to kind of experience a reputable, accounting or bookkeeping firm. We want them to, flow through the various processes that we've set up, so they don't get hung up. They don't waste our time with emails and messages and how do you do this, how do you do that. We want their experience to be really tight. And then at that same time, as we create the client experiences, that will result in firm efficiencies and automations as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So as we create these workflows, not only are our clients going to love them, we're going to find massive efficiencies and profitable automations within our firms. So beyond that, you know, so we're going to go back to the business journey with the various stepping points. So and it's interesting, those 4 points that I just shared kind of go lock in step with the steps here. So where are you with your firm? Are you surviving, struggling? Are you getting organized, or sorry, are you getting organized? Are you getting systematized a little bit? Are you feeling like there's light at the end of the tunnel, but are you still working a ton? Like that was big for me. I had these things in place. And I thought, man, I should be making decent money. I should be attracting new clients, but I was still working quite a bit. But my profit wasn't going up as fast as I thought it would, based on the amount of time that I was putting in. So if you're in that organized step, maybe you're still wondering, okay, how do I make the next step up from there? So there's this picture that I like. There's this idea that we have the thinking brain versus, or the thinking mind versus the writing mind. So when we start thinking about things, they're all kind of a stream of consciousness. There are all these ideas that kind of link together without any final conclusion. But the moment that we start organizing and writing them down, then we start extracting the various steps from the kind of the mess that's in our mind. And everything starts with a thought, obviously. But as the faster that we record it and kind of put it into a system, meaning when I started really organizing how these things would work, that's when the light bulbs came on. And then when I started doing a little bit of research, I started discovering that what I wanted to do was actually something that an app could do for me. And so it's very, very important to get organized right off the get-go. So define what you want. Make sure you know what you want. There's a lot of apps out there that will tell you what you think you want to do, and they're designed for accountants or bookkeepers. But you want to be able to, you must define what you want to get done, and start with small goals first. Biting off what you can manage. I know, right now you might be wondering, or you might have thought, why are we having a webinar at the start of tax season, the start of busy season? But this is kind of an anchor for when you're in the thick of it. March 15th, trying to get out your flow through entity information, to say, okay, you know what, this is the last time that I'm going to do it like this. And then when you file your extensions and have a little bit of breathing room between April and October, that's when we'll get into it. And that's when we'll build out these workflows to really maximize the automations and the time that you're spending in your firm. So start with smaller goals, get basic. Sounds probably super unsexy, but start with the, W's, the what, why, when, where, who, and how, and get really clear on what you need to do. And just a word of caution, I should say, that there is no silver bullet for the pain that you're going through. Meaning, if you're going to adopt a technology or an app, there is no silver bullet. If your processes aren't clear, if you're not committed to kind of pushing it through and have it mapped out already, the app can't do it for you. It just doesn't happen. You have to be able to do the work. So as we move beyond that, we're going to define our business or transaction cycle, meaning we're going to look at the various steps from beginning to end for your customer or your client journey. I was very client focused in building my firm. I thought, as I looked at apps, if it didn't work for my client, I didn't want it. Even if I thought it was going to be a time saver for me, the tax prep software that I use has a mobile portal available for my clients, and it was really nice. I could push completed returns into the portal for the clients to review and pick up and download, but it wasn't mobile friendly. If you opened it on your phone, you had to pinch to enter the information to log in, and it just was not something that I wanted my clients doing. There was friction there. I wanted to remove that friction. So let's create a framework from the beginning to end of working with the client. Now, last month, Mike, you had a webinar and you proposed one of those business cycles, and you had 10 phases of the business cycle. And the next slide here is going to show that. So, there's generally 10 steps for walking your client through the workflow, the business cycle. So you're positioning, you're marketing yourself. You're going to lead those people to a lead generation funnel. You're going to win that business, and then you're going to onboard that client. You're going to organize that work. You're going to scope it out. You're going to communicate with the client. You're going to complete the work. Then you're going to deliver the work. You'll get paid. You get some referrals, and then do some follow-up work with the client at the end. So as we move beyond that, I kind of just want to focus on some fundamental things when you're thinking about how to look at your workflow. So I love the idea of eliminate, automate, and delegate. And doing it in that order is paramount. You can't start automating without really trimming down and eliminating the fluff of your workflows. And you definitely do not want to start delegating any work that hasn't been cleaned and hasn't been prepared into a workflow. So we start with eliminate. So these are the what tasks. So what do we do? And then we quickly learn, why do we do these tasks? As an audit senior or junior at Ernst & Young, we would get these working papers from the prior year, and we would just, as accountants say, we would roll them forward, and we would start doing the tasks for the audit file. And then the manager would come in and review the files, and they would say, well, why did you do this? And inevitably, we all said at one point, well, that's what they did last year. And that's basically, sometimes we have those in our own firms. We have those tasks that we did at either the firm that we worked at before or in a prior job. And we just did things like that because that's how it was done. And paper offices, those workflows do not translate very well to paperless offices. And so we need to get really clear on the tasks that we are going to complete as we build our workflows. So then we're going to move on to the automate portion of the workflows. So these are the how do we do these tasks. And now this is going to be the most impactful thing you can do to scale your firm or your business. I see people chatting in the chat that there's non-accountants in the audience as well. And so these ideas can be applied to any business. I know quite intimately how they will work for a CPA firm or a bookkeeping firm, but they can be applied anywhere. So this will be the single most important tool to scale your firm. However, it does require a mindset change in a significant way. It can positively impact everything from marketing to billing to fulfillment of client work to team training and retaining good talent. It is truly the game changer with everything in your firm. But it is the hardest thing to wrap your head around, especially if you've been running a traditional firm for part or for all of your career. It does require you to look at things differently and start using tools that you may not be familiar with. And so the final component of this is the delegation. So this is who does those tasks. And so as you create these workflows, assigning these workflows to specific people is crucial. And I'm a big believer of value-based pricing. And it's something that really needs to be considered if you want to scale your firm, just because you can create recurring income in a very meaningful way, as well as not get tied down to this hourly rate that sometimes traditional firms are attached to. So as you identify who's doing what and when, the roles become clear with objectives and KPIs. This is also going to force your staff to become something different than they were before. They're going to be hybrid roles that will be created. And let me just explain that for a second. So as you focus on the workflows and the flow of data. So with that data entry being pushed aside, you're working on the data flow. Your bookkeepers or frontline, or even yourself as a firm owner, need to realize that maybe your role is going to change, and you'll no longer be a bookkeeper, or you'll no longer have bookkeeping staff, but you'll have financial system managers. Meaning, how do I plug in my QBO to my client's Shopify, or my client's Dubsado, or my client's Honeybook, and pull that information in a way that it's clean when it comes into QBO? And then how can I, reduce the amount of entry required? And then if there is a hiccup, how do I, navigate that API connection? And so these roles are going to change, meaning you have to be able to speak the technology that your clients are using. And it's powerful when you can come to your client and they're using an app and you can speak that language with them and help them figure out how to make their operations more efficient. Then that will translate into more profitability for yourself as well. So let's talk about picking the right tools. There are thousands of business apps. There's a lot of ways to get in analysis paralysis here. So these are the things that I kind of keep in mind. Now, I just want to share a quick story. I used to work at Best Buy, and when I got hired back during college, there was this lengthy interview process, which I thought was kind of more robust than I thought it would be for Best Buy. But that aside, the final leg of that interview process, I sat down with one of the assistant managers, and he brought me into this room and pointed at this old printer. And the printer was that color, that like creamy gray color that most printers in the 80s and 90s were made with. And I thought, what is this guy trying to do? Why does he want me to dot matrix? Thanks, Christine. Why is he showing me this? And I thought I was going to have to sell it to him. And he said, what's the difference between features and options? And I can't remember exactly what I said, but I did get the job, so I must have said something profound and correct. But that got me thinking later, like all these apps, they present their features to you when you're looking at them. However, features are things that we sell people on, and so options are things that an app can do, but may not be applicable for you. So when you're looking at all the listed features, identify the must-haves, identify the deal breakers. If you don't have certain features, or if an app doesn't have certain features, you move on. Or if it has too many features, and don't get rose-colored glasses on and think that, oh, this is going to solve all my issues. You need to be very clear on why you're moving forward with this specific app. It has to integrate with your other tools as well. As I mentioned before, you want a tool that can speak to your other tools, so you can create that ecosystem so that data can flow properly. And finally, you want customer support. Not just any customer support, but you need customer support that is there when you have issues, because inevitably there are always issues that crop up. I have a colleague that says, an app is only as good as the customer support that it offers. And I agree with that. If you can't get anyone on the phone when your workflow is broken and it's backing you up and you need to either send a return or finish something, that is the frustration that pushes people to the edge. So keep those things in mind as you look at integrating tools into your own ecosystem and into your own firm. So this is kind of broadly how my firm was organized. So we talked about that, the business cycle, the transaction cycle. So I had, kind of buckets of where I would organize my work. I was looking at marketing and positioning. At the beginning, I would identify those tasks that I would want done. And within those tasks, I would identify those that are responsible for those tasks, and then the apps and tools that would guide that along the way. In that position, you can see that SuiteDash was there. So SuiteDash was almost the first point of contact for a lot of new clients. I also used WordPress, and Gravity there is Gravity Forms. And so that was a plugin that I would use with WordPress. And those three tools work together through Zapier, which is a connector. And so I was able to get clients to land on my website, sign up. They would get an invite to the portal immediately, and then they would be in my ecosystem. And then that wasn't necessarily the sale though, but then we moved to the lead generation and the selling. And so once they're in the portal, then they're invited to look around to see that, you know, you're not just an accountant, but you have this online presence, that you have the capabilities to understand and play with their technology. And then it's a great tool to showcase things without actually spending time in the sales process. So in there, I use the same tools. There's ClickFunnels in there as well. And then, so once they've signed on, move into onboarding. And so SuiteDash was there again, walking them through forms that they needed to complete, as well as the other tool there, that's Loom. So it's a video screen recording app that you can share quick videos with new clients. Having videos to walk them through certain processes was indispensable, especially when you have them connecting their bank accounts to to QBO or Xero. There's lots of potential hiccups that clients can run into, but if you have a video walking them through the process, all of a sudden all the customer support that they need from you is done with a couple videos. It's fantastic. And then we move into the fulfillment and communication. So this is where most of us focus our attention, and this is where we invest in our apps. We want to complete the work. So QBO, Xero, Dex, Bill.com. Walter's Clear was the tax preparation tool that I used, which was web-based. And then driving all of this work was the project management module through SuiteDash. And so it was a way to organize all the work that was going on, to monitor staff, and to be on top of all the work that was being done. For me, I was a little OCD. I needed the visibility of the work that was being done. Next, there was a client follow-up. We'll jump forward to this slide, no problem. So internally, there was these are the tools that I used. So I used a G Suite of tools. Deloitte uses G Suite and Gmail. If it's good enough for Deloitte, it was good enough for me. And I liked it because it would integrate with all the other tools that I had in my firm. I could push information quickly and efficiently from emails, and it would just plug and play nicely. Obviously, SuiteDash was integral in that. And then Zapier, as I mentioned before, is a connector that you can kind of stitch these apps together. Billing and payments. So there was a conjunction between receiving payments from an invoice, as well as setting up a recurring billing arrangement through SuiteDash, which connected to Stripe, so you can set up recurring payments that way. And then something that I think fundamentally we sometimes forget in picking the apps that we do is, how do we get our team trained up on all these tools? How do we make sure that they're supported, especially if they're remote? If you have teams, especially working from home or different offices across the country, or even in the same city, how do we make sure that everyone's on the same page when it comes to completing tasks, and that's being done the right way? So in that bucket again, SuiteDash was paramount, and then Loom again as well, to have my team trained through videos as well. So I just want to touch on some value-adding services. So once we've created this ecosystem of apps, we can start moving beyond just the bookkeeping and accounting and become More than that, we can become a tech solutions provider for our clients, which sounds great, but it is a self-serving venture because our own firms will become way more efficient as we build out these systems for our clients. It's as we um, strive to provide insights to our clients. Um, that's where the value, that's where we can start increasing our fees, and that's where we can really scale our firm in a meaningful way. So instead of gathering more clients, we want to generate more revenue per client. And that that lends itself really nicely to building out an advisory and strategic component of your firm. And in some cases, you can even move away from just the bookkeeping and accounting and just do advisory work. It positions you to offer incredible value as an advisor and strategic partner in a really scalable way. Traditional advisory is hard to scale. You can, as I mentioned before, you could even move away entirely from bookkeeping and accounting and just be that tech strategic financial strategist. So I will finish the story from before. So after I narrowed down the selling of my firm to four firms, um, I I was working with my advisor, and he kind of laughed. I said, "Well, I want this amount of money for my firm," and he said, "I don't know if you're going to get that." And then after humming and hawing and kind of looking at some initial interest from buyers, listed my firm at a certain amount, and there was a lot of attention based on that amount, and I was extremely excited because there was so much interest, and it gave me a little bit of leverage to negotiate with the buyers. So not only was I working, no more than 30, 35 hours a week in my firm, I was able to create a firm that was extremely valuable and basically be valued 50% more than many traditional accounting firms. And I was able to get what I asked for, plus a little bit more based on negotiating with the buyer and working out a transition period. But ultimately, as you go down that path and scale those mountains and implement some of this technology, you'll be able to increase the value of your firm by 50% at the same time as getting back some of your time, increasing your profitability, reducing the stress of managing your teams. It's really a no-brainer, and it's very impactful for your own personal life as well as your families and those that work with you.
That's great, Mark. Yeah. Just I just wanted to kind of circle back on some of the things that you were saying and just kind of reiterate the 10 steps, how the advantage and the streamlining that can happen in all those 10 steps in the business cycle is really applicable to just about any business. But I'm just curious, in your business, as we've seen, SuiteDash is a piece of that puzzle, right? And so when you're talking about accounting or CPA, clearly there's very specific bespoke software for developing tax returns, and then there's a specific workflow that you have to fit things into. So SuiteDash doesn't cover all those things, that's for sure. But you did a really good job, I think, of finding a way and doing the work to identify what your workflows are specifically, and then finding the pieces and parts that fit those together. And I think it's really important to re-emphasize here, just like you said, the way this thing works, the way you can achieve these kind of results, is you can't buy it, right? You can't buy it. You can't go into a webinar and have somebody show it to you and suddenly, oh, well, everything's now done. You have to focus. You have to write things down. You have to have an exact workflow that you go into the situation knowing this is my workflow. Now, I need to make step by step by step. And so what you've done here for us today, I think is so valuable from a CPA standpoint, is you've not uh, done the fishing for us, to use this analogy, but you're trying to show and teach how to fish, right? This is the approach. This is the solution. This is the path. Everyone will need to walk it on their own. Everyone will need to understand their workflow on their own. And so I think that's, what you've done is commendable, because you realize that you did that, and now what you're showing here is you're trying to illustrate and show the importance of that path, how it works, step by step by step. So yeah, I really appreciate you walking through that.
Yeah. It didn't really become apparent. I kind of felt like I was in it alone when I was building the firm, because I didn't have I knew a couple other firm owners, but no one was kind of running solo by myself, and no one was interested in adopting the technology as much as I wanted to.
Yep.
So it was definitely, I wish I had something like this 4 or 5 years ago, to kind of help me build out that structure, design that map, and then go forward, because there was a lot of struggle along the way.
Agreed. And this is part of the reason that we are having these master classes now, because technology has now come to the place where even an older school niche, maybe like accounting, or any niche business that has kind of an older way of doing things, everyone needs to realize that now is as good a time. This is as good as it gets. The automations, the simplicity, the mobile friendliness, everything has come together to a place where it's really time for you to start to look at this and say, here is a competitive advantage that I can make and create for myself with fairly low bar compared to what, for example, you had to put together. Things are easier and easier now, and so that's interesting. And you have things like LMS, where you can use an LMS course builder, or information passer is even a better way to say it, to educate your clients, right? Or to bring them in and show and position yourself as the guide and show them these how this works, how that works, et cetera, et cetera. I'm interested to see if maybe LMS might be in your plans, because I didn't see anything like that, but I did hear you touch on something like that.
Yeah, I mentioned Loom as
Right.
as the trainer for my staff, but Loom was a disconnected and unintegrated tool, right? Whereas with the MLS newly released module with SuiteDash, I can build those videos directly into the app.
Into your white label client portal, where you are, where everyone feels like they belong.
Not only do our staff need training, but our clients do as well. So having some information for them as well would be, super important.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell them about the AMA now. So everyone, of course, every business is different, and you may be wondering, okay, so we see this thing from a 30,000 foot view now, but maybe I want to ask questions. I want to know what's going on. Mark has volunteered to run an AMA with us and Ask Me Anything. So, maybe you just don't see how you can automate some of your things, or for whatever reason you have questions about actual implementation. This is your opportunity to get your questions answered. So we're hosting a free Ask Me Anything, or as the kids are saying, AMA, where you can submit your questions to us and we'll answer them for you. And you'll have access to Mark's expertise for systematizing, automating, even selling his accounting firm. It's Ask Me Anything, so bring your questions. He's a pro, and this guy he's proven and done exactly what we at SuiteDash are trying to help you understand the importance of. I'll be there to help provide practical steps you can take inside SuiteDash. We will have some workflows that we want to demonstrate and just talk about. Let's use a flow. Let's use an on-demand flow, and then we'll move them to this or that. Every workflow is different, but there'll be some examples there. And you can start building momentum towards your efficiency and profitability in your firm. So the AMA session is exclusively for SuiteDash users. It doesn't matter if you are a paid account or a free trial. Registration will be open inside the portal. So immediately following this masterclass, if you log in or if you don't have an account, you can go to the SuiteDash.com and get a free trial and log in, and you'll find it there. So again, it's totally free. The link will be there now, so it's zero risk and completely free to join us again. And it's going to be on Friday, this Friday, so just a few days from now at 1 p.m. same time. The link is there for you to register now. There will be a replay recording of this session. Yes, thank you for asking, Marie. We'll send that out to everyone, and you're welcome to share that with anyone that you think will find this helpful. The link will be inside the platform, Janine, so you'll need to log in and find that. It'll be in a notice when you first log in. Okay, well, Mark, thank you. Thanks again for joining us and preparing all this as someone. We invited CPA, bookkeeping, accounting. We made this focused on that niche, and you are a representative of that niche, so I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And there are a few questions in there. If you want to reach out to me directly as well, it's LinkedIn, Mark Stovall, as spelled up in the corner of this webinar. You can also find me at cpafirmaccelerator.com. That's the website that has recently been launched, in which you can contact me and we can chat about strategy and whatnot. So thanks, Mike, and I guess we'll chat on Friday again.
Yep, I'll look forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. See you. Bye.
If you had seen me trying to figure things out, my head was spinning, my success was in doubt, but now the search is, the pain is over. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not searching, not anymore. I found just what I need. I'm not paying, not anymore. It's mine for life, and it looks just like me. Constantly I was on my knees, spending way too much in fees. No one in my team was pleased. All these things I was juggling, but now my life is easy. Everything's in one place, and it feels so free. Yeah, I can't be wrong. Did I mention their guarantee? I'm not searching, not anymore. I found just what I need. I'm not paying, not anymore. It's mine for life, and it looks just like me. Now I hope that you're listening. You can be just the same as me. The only thing you'll ever need is right here, but hurry please. Then your life can be easy. Everything's in one place, and it feels so free.